Hello, my name is Peter Charleston. I run an online self-development program called Thrive Learning, which is full of topics related to both personal and professional development. And in the next few minutes, I'd like to take you through an example of one of those topics. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about leadership and why a leader's psychology is so important in leading people. I'm just going to share some slides with you as just to illustrate the topic. And there we go. So Thrive's all about helping people reach their potential. And let's talk a little bit about the psychology of leadership in the next few minutes. Why does a leader need to know about human behavior? Well, they lead people, and people, your own psychology as a leader and knowing a little bit and understanding a little bit about other people's psychology is really important. Given this statistic, for instance, 80% of people who resign do so because of their manager. The impact a manager has on staff affects productivity and performance, and thus affects the bottom line. Many studies have shown that organisations are more consistently profitable when they have effective leaders. The less competent people are, the more they overestimate their abilities. So this gives you an example of how ego and insecurity get in the way of leading people. And when leaders are unaware of their weaknesses or in denial about them, this creates big problems. So when a leader's ego is big in terms of they feel superior to others, culture problems happen. When a leader feels inferior, different types of problems happen. So some leaders are way too dominant and controlling, others are actually way too hands-off. Think about conflict in the workplace and conflict within teams. Leaders who feel superior try to control their staff, which creates conflict in itself, and a blame culture tends to happen as a result. Staff get more defensive and less collaborative because they're just trying to survive in this blame culture. Otherwise known as the fight-flight response. They're pretty much in survival mode. When you're working for this sort of organisation or team, it's not a nice place to be. Partly because the people in the team don't feel psychologically safe. And this significantly, in a negative way, affects performance. This blame culture actually stops learning from occurring. It's such a significant impact on the bottom line. So when people are in this survival mode and blame culture, they tend to regress into more immature behaviours. Think about how a leader's beliefs about other people affect those people's performance as well. If you know your boss doesn't think much of you, then think about how you react to that and how it impacts on your performance. And the reverse, if your boss thinks you're fantastic, how does that affect performance? And some of this isn't actually direct messages, but it comes across in the leader's tone, body language, and the way they communicate with their staff or not. Do they include some people or not in important discussions? So for a leader to understand their own psychology, it helps them understand their impact on other people. And to connect with your staff better, you need to understand the different personalities you're working with. in order to create a high functioning team, obviously you need to make the most out of the different talents in the team. This requires interpersonal skills that allow you to build enough rapport, trust, and respect to get the most out of people. This all comes from the leader's ability to manage their own psychology. A leader who's insecure, for instance, will feel threatened by some of their staff and will behave in unhealthy ways because of that. Think about leadership in terms of closeness or distance, emotional closeness or distance. Some leaders are very relationship focused. They love to get along with people, but there's pluses and minuses for that, just as some leaders are far more task focused. And when either of these two ways of leading are at the extremes, you get problems. So an extreme task-focused person tends to come across as way too cold, business-like, impersonal. Whereas an extreme relationship-focused person tends to come across as so trusting that they're almost trying to please the staff too much. And sometimes they're too passive. The sweet spot is in the middle of these two. And a good leader knows how to manage their psychology. Part of that is knowing that they have a tendency to go one way or the other, to be too task focused or too relationship focused. And they work on their weaknesses. They work on trying to find the balance between the two of these. So a leader's awareness of themselves becomes a very important factor in how well they lead. So leaders need to adjust their approach to each person that they deal with. This itself requires an awareness of self, an awareness of the other, and again, interpersonal abilities where you can use different skills with different people to make the most out of the talents you have. These are skills that are not easy to master, but as a leader improves their psychology, these skills become better. You get better at it. So that's enough for now. I've given you a little bit of a taste of the type of things we deal with in our Thrive program, particularly to do with leadership and developing people. So some of the things I've touched upon, we go into much more depth within the program. The program is a range of different topics, both professional as well as personal development topics. Each one's about 30 minutes. It comes with a workbook that you can reflect on your behaviour, do some exercises. It gives you hints and tips, and you also get to go into much more depth about some of these topics within coaching sessions, both group and one-on-one. And there's an ongoing community online that you can bounce some of these ideas around too. So all in all, I'm creating an environment where people can learn safely and motivate each other to be at their best, no matter what they do. So if you're interested, have a look at the website. There's a number of free resources on there. And hopefully I'll get to see you sometime in the future in our program.